Previously on We Promise Nothing.
Whoa. You don't get out of the question.
Cover that topic tonight.
No.
Fuck the human race. We're dead. And now, this week's episode.
The wild catty has appeared.
Guppy.
Jpar, I choose you!
Jpar.
Guppy.
So what do you guys think about stuff?
Guppy.
Jpar.
Oh, this is gonna be a long podcast if that's all you two are gonna say.
Hi, this is Jpar. You're listening to the We Promise Nothing podcast. Tonight, I have Pokemon trainer Lipp, scratch and sniff enthusiast Kathy, someone who can't wait for this show to be over because he has to pee really bad, the Boo, and introduce someone who just arrived in a TARDIS, Robin. Before we get started, I'd like to give a big shout out to SoundsLikeAnEarful.com for all their awesome music that we use on the show. Check them out, SoundsLikeAnEarful.com. Alright, let's get the conversation started. Tonight we are going to review E.T. at the request of Boo. Each week we'll review a different movie, usually a request by one of the guests. It may be a newer one, it may be older, some things are just, fun to revisit, some maybe the first time we see them or a second reaction. But, before we do that, let's talk about the intro. Pokemon. Poco what? Lipp, tell us about your Pokemon adventures.
Pokemon Adventures? I guess I played Pokemon when, for the Game Boy. I had Pokemon Blue. Still went with Charmander, though.
Charmander.
Loved him as my fire Pokemon. So strong.
And he evolves to Charizard, right?
Charizard eventually, yeah.
Right.
Is
Is that it, or do they have, is it a third evolution?
that's the third one. Charizard's the third one.
Don't you find it weird that, the Pokemon world is this, world where people, catch animals and they, trap them, and then they train them to fight other animals? That's such a weird thing.
We do that in this world.
Yeah, but it's not legal! You're not supposed to do that!
Well, I know.
It's what if, Ash Ketchum was actually, an NFL player? Alright, so I want to introduce everyone to Robin on the show. This is her first time being on the show. And hopefully we'll see her a couple more times. Hi, everybody. Hi, Robin.
I'm Dr. Nick. Thank you very much.
Alright. Don't sit too far away because we want to hear you.
No, you don't.
Well, the audience has got to hear you. The mic's got to hear you.
Don't want to hear me.
Well, why are you sitting in here if you don't want to be a part of the conversation?
Because I want to be around my friends.
Friends.
Good.
Is that what you consider yourself now?
Oh, wow.
Why am I sitting beside him?
Sorry, I'll sit you somewhere else next time. Now, it may get a little chaotic, hopefully not too chaotic with 5 people here, but hopefully it also makes it so there's always something to say. And so yeah, what do you think of the Pokemon world? Is that a just world? Because Pokemon are basically they're animals, right?
Yeah, they take care of them, they feed them.
Do they feed them? Do you ever see them feeding them?
There's an episode or two about it. I don't know, I watched the TV show too as a kid.
So you see, did you see Pikachu eat stuff then?
Yeah, sure,
is there physical evidence of Pokemon eating
absolutely,
things? Yes.
Peaches or something.
Peaches?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is it real?
Yeah, peaches or berries or something. I assume.
Okay.
I think there's little pellets too. Like a hamster.
An electric hamster that could fry people.
Yeah.
He's pretty crazy. Or he's like a chinchilla, I guess. Eh? He's more that's what I guess he's supposed to be.
So now Pokemon's a little bit after your childhood. How do you feel about it?
Well, it's not after. It's I was going to college, so I mean.
Well, yeah, college kids weren't, at least in Canada and the United States, not jumping on Pokemon.
I've seen enough episodes of it. I've actually watched it. I've watched a lot of stuff on TV. always like to check new things out. It kept my interest for a little bit. I thought the villains were actually kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I always thought it's such a weird world, and must be a weird world in Japan. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. That's right. It's still going now. I think there's still a TV show and there's still new video games. This is 16, 20 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not 20, but
No, it's about 20.
yeah, it could be.
I think you're right. And plus, it's been in Japan for a lot longer than that, right? So.
I think I was way too old by the time it actually came out. I can't even say that I've watched anything Pokemon
No, we
related.
did Sailor Moon instead.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Sailor Moon was much better with Tuxedo
Yes.
Mask and, Oh, and we can't forget the Power Rangers, but that's in Bananas and Pajamas, but not Pokemon.
Not Pokemon. No, that was way too geeky.
It was.
And Sailor Moon and Power Rangers are also two products of Japan as well. That's
Ypper.
fashioned for a North American audience. So, like I said, it must be a weird world over there.
Either that or
Because
they
those
think
cartoons and those shows are just a bit odd,
Absolutely.
It's like the Power Rangers wear ski outfits, and every time they get hit, sparks fly off them, and they always fight like Godzilla rejects, and they kill them with their big Mechazord or whatever the heck they got there, and same thing every time. Like every episode, it's like the plot never changes. Like they even use the same clips, like of the robot charging the sword up, and they throw it, and it's just a different monster in the way every week. That's about it. They blow the monster up, it's done.
Yeah, I feel like it's just half recycling Transformers anyway. It's just big robots.
Or Voltron,
Yeah.
I feel more Voltron because Voltron had a Japanese influence as well. Robotech, definitely.
I forgot about Robotech.
I loved Robotech.
I liked Robotech. My brother
Big fan.
loved Robotech. Loved it.
Loved it.
Loved it. Yes. He loved Robotech. No.
Oh,
What about you, Boo? You work at a game store. What's the popularity of Pokemon like there?
No idea when to get started there. Seems like it's never ending. Cards are still kicking around even.
Yeah, so you sell that at the store as well.
Yep.
Do
Seems
people
like,
still buy these things?
Yeah, surprisingly enough, the kids seem to just adore them. I don't know what it is. No, it's definitely a craze that comes from Japan that I can never quite understand.
How many Pokemon are there now?
Oh, who knows?
I don't think anyone ever wants to know.
Is there over 1,000? Do you think there's over 1,000?
it depends if you count the new and the old. I think there's a debate online about that, how many there really are. And they actually fight over who counts in the count.
Yeah, that's true. Which ones are valid and which ones are
Yeah,
not.
so that's...
I think some had even gone into debate about the different evolutions of the Pokemon, how it kind of doubled or tripled or quadrupled, their statuses. So it was almost like a different
Yeah.
Pokemon altogether every time they would
They evolve
evolve.
into another...
Yeah, so then there was this
Pokemon,
debate
yeah.
about how many there were ultimately, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, you hear that a lot.
Somewhere between 718 and 721 right now. apparently.
What?
Consensus says.
Wait, what?
Just Google. Google says 718 or 721.
Alright, we got an official number, guys.
There we go. We got Google.
So it is over 1,000.
No,
Google
no.
number.
How? 721.
Oh, 7! I thought you said 1721.
So that's how you count to 1,000?
No, okay, 721. I thought you said 1721.
1, 2, skip a few.
Apparently Jpar likes to count backwards,
So-
guys.
So what's your favorite Pokemon there, Boo?
God. Oh, what was the one that you always used to catch my attention?
The
That was
Jpar?
always-
Jpar's best.
I was never aware of that one. Oh, God, you know what? No,
Didn't you listen to the intro? You're just here. We just did it 5 minutes ago.
Honestly, I don't have an answer. I really don't. I don't think I've followed it closely enough to actually pick one that would... I can't even go as far as saying, Pikachu for crying out loud, because, that goddamn thing would drive me
Oh,
absolutely nuts.
boo. Poor choice.
Well, that's it.
Poor choice, not a choice.
Isn't there a Pokemon
It's like,
called Boo?
wait. Pikachu's a Pokemon, right? Yeah.
There's going to be a Pokemon called Boo.
No, that's a Mario Brothers character.
Oh, I know. That's a different type of character.
There is ghost type Pokemons, is there not?
Yeah,
And there is something like, I don't know, maybe there is something that's equivalent to a Boo Pokemon that, yeah. That's your Pokemon. That's your spirit Pokemon. Some people have spirit animals, that's your spirit Pokemon.
Robin, what's your spirit Pokemon?
I've never seen the show, any part of it, nothing. I know nothing about it, other than the South Park episode making fun of it.
Yeah, what's your favorite gym Pokemon?
She likes the ones that look like cats.
Yes.
Meowth and Meowtwo.
Yes.
And there's also Mew. Or is it Meowtwo? It's Mewtwo, isn't it?
Mewtwo.
Mewtwo and Mew and...
I've actually heard that.
It's like, she's like, yes, I'm gonna go with
Yes.
that. It sounds like a cat, and it does look like a cat.
Yeah. And Kathy's favorite is cat too.
Yes.
Yes.
I concur.
I conquer.
I am unanimous
Wait,
in this decision.
what's the one that goes hard? That's Kathy's. It's Metapod.
Yeah, it is
Metapod. And Metapod goes hard, so that's your Pokemon.
Yay, yes it is.
His what is it? It's like his level 1 attack or something. It's like just go hard.
Yeah, harden,
So that way you can't be
harden.
attacked or something. Yeah, hardened. He just hardens. That's all he does. That's the best Pokemon.
So really, where are you going with this?
It's her spirit Pokemon.
Uh-huh.
That's where I go.
Uh-huh.
Oh my.
I just thought that'd be an interesting way to start the show. That was perfect. And now let's transition in no way at all to E.T. to the E.T. review.
You even introduced it with the ET review. No,
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 but
it's
that's
at
an-
first.
Yeah, but first we
Okay.
were talking about that.
Yes.
Hey, don't criticize the host. Let me do my thing.
No hecklers.
Not
Boo.
cool. That's
Boo.
not
Not cool.
Not cool. A troubled child summons the courage to help a friendly alien escape Earth and return to his home world. E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial, a 1982 film rated PG, directed by Steven Spielberg. So, it is currently... E.T. is currently at 51 for the all-time grossing films worldwide, according to BoxOfficeMojo.com, and it's sitting at $792.9 million over multiple releases in theater. So we just watched this movie, so it's like a blast from the past. I'm sure everyone saw it in their childhood, especially anyone who grew up in the 80s definitely would have seen this movie, and it's a huge part of movie history. Special effects that were done before that hadn't been seen. Just like a lot of the great 80s movies, it has that magic to it. But now that we watch it again, and we're watching I guess this is the special edition. This is like Steven Spielberg's version of...
Extended.
2000
the remastered version.
remaster.
Yeah, so that's the one we ended up watching tonight. So the walkie-talkies the guns have been replaced with walkie-talkies, which is something that was CGI'd in or, changed later. Amongst many other things, a lot more vibrant colors. So, what do you think, Kathy? I'll hand it over to you. What do you think of E.T. now compared to when you saw him when you were younger, especially this new version?
Well, when I saw it when I was younger, I actually liked the fact that you couldn't really see E.T. before you actually see him in front of the shed, because I figure it always piqued my imagination, thinking, oh, what is it? What does it look like and whatnot. But now you kind of see it, and it takes away from the big, the big scene that when we were kids, the big scene was the shed scene.
The mystery and the reveal.
Exactly, and the mystery and the reveal, and I totally missed the trail of Reese's Pieces, but. As Robin had mentioned while watching the movie, that the trail of Reese's Pieces was missing, and I noticed that as well, and that was kind of heartbreaking. But I mean, other than stuff like that, I think it did bring me back quite a bit, and I just remember thinking, even as when people were commenting, I sometimes thought differently about E.T. at the beginning. I was never really afraid of him. I was more afraid of him during the previews, but when I started watching the movies, I instantly just loved him, and the little girl always annoyed me.
Drew Barrymore.
Yes.
We talked about that last week.
Yes, but Drew Barrymore as an adult, love her.
You know
as
what?
a child, I wanted to slap her.
She's
I don't know, I
adorable
just-
as a kid. You know what?
I don't
That's
know.
her best movie, because she's just this adorable kid, that's all.
Yeah, but you ratted him out all the time and made, E.T.'s life so much more difficult.
Only in the remastered version. In the original, she didn't rat him out.
No, it's true, but she was still annoying. I remember not liking that character even as a child. I don't know why.
Well, speaking
She
of annoying
just-
characters, the mom was kind of out there on this one.
Oh, you have it bad for that mom.
Well, it's just
It's pretty useless. Useless,
We're
I
talking
think.
about airheads and airheads. God,
I think that just goes along with that 80s cliche, the parents are always so dumb and the kids are so smart kind of thing. And
Exactly.
And you know the part that I remembered somehow, like Elliot calling his older brother penis breath, and like the mom like laughing, you know, like hey, trying to give Elliot shit, but she's like laughing at the same like great parenting. So Lipp, what are your thoughts?
To be honest, like I don't even remember it. I remember seeing it as a child, and I don't really remember a lot of the changes. You know, you guys are talking about. I guess I kind of enjoyed it. It's got a little bit of cheese, probably because it's remastered and the CGI is not the greatest. But you know, it's a good movie. I'm happy I went and rewatched it so I can actually remember most of it. I kind of really just remember the key parts. You know, him flying across the moon, the Reese's Pieces,
The money shot.
Yeah, you know, the fingers touching. You know, the cliches, the cliches that are just replicated in every pop culture reference.
The finger touching. All right, so Boo, thoughts on this?
Oh, my thoughts were all over the damn movie when we were watching it. I don't know. There was just a lot of it that I loved that I remember when I was a kid, brought back memories that were both good and bad. I do have to admit, actually, Kathy did remind me of one aspect. As a child, I used to be terrified of the full of fucker. Excuse my French. But, I mean, let's face it, we're talking a short-legged little freak who loved to flail his arms in the air wherever he went. Apparently he was more French than I was with his hands, for crying out loud. But again, it was just one of those characters I felt like as a kid that it stuck with me, that it was just odd, it was both creepy and memorable. And as you grew older, you started to appreciate less of the awkwardness and more of the creepiness, because it was almost like they purposely went out of the way to instill a little bit of that fear before, you know, like you guys said, the reveal of the character. This idea that, speaking of reveal, I will say this though, it's just E.T. was meant to be very much extraterrestrial first, and then cute and cuddly later. You know, like it was almost like an undertone of a family movie by the end of that film, but at the beginning it was almost like sheer instinct that you wanted to fear the look or the presence of E.T. before he was
obviously scary, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. It was almost like, you know, it was obvious, still even in a part of our culture. I just love the fact that it just went from awkward to and creepy to cute and cuddly almost instantly. And then the rest of the goddamn movie was nothing about this stupid alien actually walking around in front of mom, and she doesn't know any better. It really does come down to that. The rest of it is all about, you know, Elliot and E.T. making that bond, and I think to this day that's exactly why this movie stands out as an iconic movie. You know, that relationship between the human race.
Something I never noticed is that, because it was a long time ago that I seen this movie, is that that Elliot and E.T. did have like a telepathic bond in this.
Yeah.
That's something I didn't even realize before. Just like some of the many, like you said, many things that I didn't even remember, you know, like watching this.
Well,
and then some parts I really, really remember. Like Robin says, the Reese's Piece trail from the shed, you know what I mean? E.T. healing with the fingers, ow, you know? Stuff like that, him hiding in the stuffed animals, you know, just little scenes here and there, just little things from your childhood, you know?
Yeah.
That are just still there. And then, yeah, a lot of scenes that were just...
it's funny you mentioned that the lack of... I'm surprised you actually didn't catch on the telepathic part. Actually, what's really cool...
Well, like I said, it's a long time ago when I saw it. I might have been like too young to understand like a telepathy kind of thing. You know
well,
what I mean?
saw actually, and that brings back another memory, like the astronaut suits. You know.
Oh yeah,
you
that didn't make any sense.
You see that,
and even when I was a kid, I knew that didn't make any sense. Yeah. And people were like, "Oh, they're hazmat suits." They're not fucking hazmat suits. They're fucking astronaut suits. Like they showed, and that part was scary when I was a kid. I remember those guys showing up into the house. In their astronaut suits. They're not hazmat suits. Mm-hmm. They're in hazmat suits later, and then they don't seem to like care. It's like, I guess E.T.'s not toxic, and they just totally stop using their hazmat suits altogether. Like no one's don't even cares anymore. Like you said, they don't unzip the thing anymore. Everyone's just nonchalant about it.
It went from either extreme. It went from them walking into the room, not even close. They had to build a freaking bridge of a tube of whatever that was.
Like, anyway, so inconspicuous. Like the whole neighborhood knows something's going on. Like, is this how the Men in Black good? Or like they really keep it under wraps like this? Like, gee, I wonder what's happening on Elliot's house. You know, they're fumigating. They got bugs. You know, like.
Well, of course they're never going to control, but it was just funny that they went, like you said, from either extreme, from going in from astronaut suits over back to. What was it? Just basic masks around. Well, they had the hazmats
and basic masks.
Yeah, and then
people
the guys
actually looking
upon E.T.
at E.T. just had masks on, and everyone else had hazmat around them. It was like, We don't care about you.
They accepted the fact that they were contaminated the second they stepped within the vicinity of ET, and then I was like... But yeah, no, it was weird that they tried to emphasize this strong... It was almost like you had said, too, when you said you didn't catch on to the telepathic bond between the two of them, and yet there's a strong emphasis of, oh, it's a contaminated zone. Well, what's contaminated? The kid and the alien are the only two that are feeling the symptoms, so you can't tell me that it's freaking contaminated. And yet, it went from either extreme. They showed up with this huge amount of force of, let's do exactly what we need to do to avoid all this threat, to, oh, let's just take off the masks as he had his last breath. Like that made any sense. Why would he be any less contaminated 2 seconds ago as he is now?
I think Lipp made that point when we were watching it. Robin.
I think I tend to look past any inconsistencies, any strangeness, any stupidity.
You left the pizza outside.
Well, who's not going to say something about the pizza? I mean, really, it's food. I'm starving. Really, it's pizza.
Elliot stepped on it.
It's nostalgia. You look past it because you remember it from your childhood. You loved it in your childhood. I saw it when I was 6 for the first time. You know, it's something that you'll love no matter what, and anybody could insult it all they want. You'll always love it. And people coming in for seeing it for the first time now might go, well, that's just dumb. And I'll go, well, I love it. Like, my father had a fit when the bikes took off. He had a meltdown. Well, that's not believable.
Oh my god.
That's the not believable part.
That was the part he lost it at. And we're like, well, suspension of disbelief, hello. And he's like, that's not realistic.
I like to think that's the part he loses in. Not like the alien and the healing and the flowers.
Meltdown. So you'll have people who are coming into it late not liking it, but you'll always love it for the nostalgia of it, even if you do pick apart inconsistencies and silly things that you have no idea why they did that.
Well, I think the good thing about watching any old movie, or even any movie in general, is just sometimes even as these movies get older and they become more familiar to us, and we do start noticing all the mistakes. And you're like, oh, look at that. It's just something we just laugh at now, you know what I mean?
I also think it's interesting to kind of look at, how it's actually shot. Some of the scenes, just the way they're put together and cut, were pretty awful, even for the 80s. And now you just look and, how smooth everything is and the transition between frames and shots. It's interesting.
Well, it's something obviously that I didn't pick up at 10, when
When you were 10, yeah.
I just aged myself. Dang it. But basically, what was I saying? I'm getting old.
Speaking of age.
It's something you didn't pick up when you were 10.
I know.
Wow.
No, it's just that I was just being
Yeah, I don't believe it.
What was I saying?
Nice try, though.
Wow.
No, but I didn't notice how bad the film.
Yeah.
Like how bad they filmed the movie, like the shots and the skip scenes, and I'm embarrassed, so I'm not gonna speak anymore. I'm just kidding.
Did the show perfectly 2 weeks, and now
I know. Now I'm going.
Would that be considered a random thought?
Kathy, no, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. You're fired, but before that happens, you're fired, Kathy. No, he still got his job. No, he's still on the show.
But why does he still be on the show?
So let's wrap this up with ET. What's the raise? You go first, since you're gonna give the highest rating probably.
Out of 5 stars.
Out of 5?
Out of 5 stars.
Well, I'd say it's definitely a 4. Nostalgia-wise, is not even the reason, because I think it was really well made at the time. Mm-hmm. So I'd give it 4.
Well, considering it was the first movie I'd pretty much seen in theaters, I guess in theaters, and I watched it, and I gotta say, I was kind of bored watching it this time. But, I can't give it a 3, because that's, exactly average. E.T. deserves more than that. So I will give it a 3.5, because I didn't find it super entertaining, and also this version we watched with it had kind of those extra special effects. I would have wished we would have saw an older version, so I could have seen that and see how that felt for me. But that's what I'm going to stick with on this one.
Well, at 10, I would have given you a strong 5. But now that I'm older and they added the CGI and it took away some of the mystery of it, I'll give it a 4.
Out of what?
A 4.
Out of what?
5.
At 5.
Okay, I heard
When
10.
she
I heard
was
you say
10. When
Oh,
she
no.
was
When
10.
I was 10, yes.
Sorry.
I was 10 once.
I'm gonna be a tough critic like Jpar here. I'm feeling a 3.5. Here's the thing. I feel like it was probably somewhere between a 4 and a 4.5 back in its day. Like it
Yeah.
was.
At one time, it was a 4. It could be a 4 or 5 movie.
Yes, yeah.
Nowadays, we've seen
In the
this
80s.
process recycled. But that's what I mean. We've seen this idea recycled over and over again because it was such a successful format. We've seen all the crappy rip-offs after that. Like a kid gets like a monster or an alien and befriends it, and like they're the only ones aware of it, and they try to protect it from the government or other people.
Yeah.
So a very familiar premise that has been recycled over and over again. And it's because of this movie, E.T. Like, I mean, they try the same thing again in Gremlins, like another Steven Spielberg movie, right? So
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna stick with my 3.5 though for just enjoyment. Currently, I kind of like you. I just got a little bit bored there. I was surprised how long the movie was. Yeah, I don't know.
mm-hmm. And
3.5.
3.5 here, and lastly, Boo.
Yeah, I think I was originally a 4 down to 3.5, but I think a lot of it had to do with what you guys already commented on. This idea that it's already been chewed up and spat out a couple more times just to say that they had to remove things and edited things. I feel like the original one, even as a kid, I feel like it had more to do with the scare. I think that's why I emphasized that at the beginning. To me, that's what won my heart over the movie, and I think now when I look at it as an adult, I tend to get a little bit of that boredom, as you pointed out. So for me, I don't know. It could have been a strong 4, but if it wasn't for the re-editing and all the remastering as we hear it these days, yeah, it's lost its.
I could see the original being. I could see the original being a 4 for me. Like you guys said, kind of darker scenes where you don't get to see E.T. as much, and then you get a bigger reveal. This one with these CGI enhancements, you get to see him pretty quickly, and you get really good view of what he looks like.
I just feel like the scare factor lost its edge
When you
because
were
it's
a
remastered.
kid, it wasn't out there for so long that you know everything that's going to happen. So even him walking up to the shed, now we're like, E.T.'s in there. Then it was like, oh my god, what the hell is in there? So you're
It's a
never
bit of both.
going to get that back.
I know that. I think that's why for me it has two personalities, if I might want to call it that. One was back then when I was older and I could appreciate the fact that I was new, it was different, and I kind of had that scared dark factor that Lipp had brought up again. Now when as an adult, you tend to appreciate the other things I think that the movie tried to do that I could
The
not get as a
comedy.
kid. Yeah, it certainly had a little bit of the comedy, especially more so now that it's dated more than anything. But I just love the fact that there was this strong emphasis on conspiracy, and they maintained that throughout the entire movie, whereas they could have easily just gone the whole, My Pet Monster, or, you mentioned Gremlins. That even lost its scare factor because it had more to do with, the cute and cuddly almost to the point first, and then the scare later. But the scare lost its edge, after a while. But the original for me did not. Hence why I went from, original 4 down to 3.5 now.
All right, so there you have it. So we got 4, 3.5, 4, 3.5, and 3.5 for E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial.
Remastered edition.
That's is it the remastered edition?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Special edition.
it's a special edition, extended edition. All right, so I'm just gonna mention a few corrections because I noticed we made some mistakes, and I kind of did some research.
Last
And
week
I
or
know I
this
wasn't
week?
supposed to do that.
Oh, jeez.
I know I wasn't supposed to do research because we
last week
promised
or this
nothing. Just over the last 2 weeks. So, Under the Red Hood is not a part of the DC animated universe, that continuity. There is such thing as holograms.
Of course there is. Tupac was.
Yeah.
And the name of the movie that we reviewed last week is Kingsman, The Secret Service. I just called it The Kingsman, so that would be inaccurate, because that's a different movie altogether.
God, I love that movie. I bought it. I don't buy
Kingsman, The
movies.
Secret Service?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bought it.
You really enjoyed it, eh?
Yeah.
But you really like spy movies, though.
I do. I'm a Bond girl.
She loved our review so much she bought the movie.
Yes.
There you
yes,
go.
It's,
It changed her world.
Which company? Who makes that? Dimension Films or something? I don't know. Give us 5 cents or something.
Give us an honorable mention.
Put it on my PayPal.
Sam Jackson, we're asking you.
Yeah.
Put in a good word.
Right.
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 I'd like to remind everyone that today's episode is brought to you by Random Thoughts by Kathy.
I wonder if I'd like being famous.
I wonder if I'd like being famous.
Yes.
I want you all to think about that for a second. Alright, what'd you think, Liv? How would you handle being famous?
I think I'd rather be rich than famous. How would I handle it? Probably not well. All the stupid shit I do would be revealed. I wouldn't really.
I definitely agree. I'd like being. I don't want to be super famous. A little bit famous would be okay, but not to the point where you got like
I don't want to be
paparazzi hanging out your window or people like bothering you and shit. You know, like maybe to be known like if you're like a writer or like an artist, and it's more like your work is more that's like your forefront. You know what I mean? As opposed like that's what gets all the credit, as opposed to like people knocking at your door and bugging you. Kind of. I'm sure people still do bug comic artists and all the such, but you know.
Sorry, I just pictured you on a bed with the block between your feet and the girl with the hammer.
You're not going anywhere, Stanley!
I'm your biggest
A little
fan.
misery going on there, but okay.
Little misery going on?
Just a little bit of misery.
Why is that?
And
That's the name of the movie.
No, I know
of the
that,
book.
but...
Misery.
Oh. Right. Oh, you're saying if someone was like that obsessed with a writer, I don't even think people are obsessed with writers like that.
Stephen King.
mm-hmm.
Well, at that time, what about now? Like, in this digital age?
He was just on the
Oh, I know that.
yeah.
He was
You
on
know?
the...
Yeah, I
I've
know.
never seen that show.
I turn into Taz when I can't figure out what it is. He was just on the Colbert. Well, it's not called
the
that
new
anymore.
Late night show. Late show.
Yes. He's just written another 20 books, so I think he's still relevant.
Yeah,
Well, he's definitely... I'm not saying he was relevant. I'm just saying, do people still stalk him? Like, definitely at one time.
Yeah, there's still got to be stupid, scary weirdos out there following around.
Especially, like, the kind of weirdos that read, like, thrillers and, like, horror.
Yeah.
Like the kind of stuff that he writes, right? So, like, people are like, oh, he's so fucked up, just like me.
Like goth
So they probably,
kids.
like, yeah. So that'd be pretty creepy.
Well, my brother has read every single book he's ever written or published or whatever you want to say.
Really?
Maybe not every written because
And
I'm
how
sure
many
not all
books?
of them have been
Does
published.
anyone know how many books Stephen King has
I have
published?
no idea.
27.
Something like that. No, I don't know.
Yeah, okay, that's...
I asked him. And he said
Before
he
I have
has
to make
no
a
idea.
correction next week, that's not a real number, ladies and gentlemen.
This week's brought to you
We're
by
already
Robin's fake stats.
going to track. Yeah. Did you know that 96% of all stats are made up on the spot?
Jeez.
You don't say. Thanks, Dad.
Wow.
Dad joke.
I know. Can't even help myself.
Uh-huh. So who's
No,
next?
I don't think
for
anyone
famous?
else wants to be... I don't think... Who? Do you want to be famous, Kathy? You asked the question.
My personality would very much welcome being famous. I wouldn't have a problem getting attention all the time. But the only thing is, I don't think I could.
No.
Yeah, I know. Shocking, right? But however, there's way too much photographic evidence of my stupidity that I could never be famous. That would be...
Oh, you could be famous. It would just not be as fun for you as... Like, you'd be on TMZ every week, them going, oh my god, we just pulled up another picture.
That's
No.
where,
You're not
Oh,
going
my
to believe
goodness.
this crap.
that's where you put
Okay, that's not including video, and thank goodness that I did not grow up in the digital age. Thank you,
Oh,
Lord,
yes.
because there's way less photographic evidence than there really should be. But
Yeah.
however, I don't know. I wouldn't mind being famous.
The money. It's the money. Really?
Well,
Fame
it's
doesn't
money.
equal money. You
Yeah.
gotta figure out how to
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
I like Lip's idea. I'd rather be rich.
If there's a choice.
I'd rather get rich doing something I love, though. You know what I mean?
Screw it.
Well, the
Make
journey,
me rich.
the journey to famous would actually be more
Yeah,
fun
but
than
it's
actually
nice
just
to
being
Be
famous. I
paid.
think.
You're right. Just make me rich. But
Just
I mean,
journey to famous. I think that's what I want.
The
It's not
journey
don't you
to
also
famous.
want like a
The
fulfilling
journey to
life?
famous.
Wouldn't you feel more fulfilled if you could have that job that you do love doing and you go and you
I'd
do
be
it?
fulfilled if I had lots and lots of money.
You could be anonymously famous.
I
So.
don't know. Does that really buy you fulfillment though? It gets you. How far does money get you? Really?
Well, consider,
I mean, financially, it gets you
consider my
along
personality.
great.
Consider my personality. This is not a question that you just ask people, and you're going to get the same answer from
No, of
everyone,
course
right? My personality says I don't want to go out and do things. I don't want to be
I don't
this
really
person
want to either, but I
working
mean-
so give me the money, make me rich, and I will sit on my fucking couch all day and watch Doctor Who and be the happiest fat camper you could ever find.
Oh.
Tell you what, I'll become famous, make a bunch of money, and then I will supply your.
Thank
you know,
you.
I will. What
Build
do
a
you call it?
TARDIS.
Hey, I'm not
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
turning down the money. Like if I get the money, I want it. But I would still
I wouldn't
try to
mind.
do the things that
It'd be
I
fun.
enjoy doing.
For me.
I agree.
I would try
Travel.
to.
Isn't that what it would come down to, though? I mean, if we have someone who actually knew how to put that fame to good use, it would translate into money. I mean, we're talking.
Yeah, well, that's
social-
where the hard work comes
social
in,
media-
and
well, social media kind of does itself for you, but
well,
that's a matter
takes
of the
some time.
personality. Well, no, I know. I'm not saying it's an automatic thing, but if you got the right personality to do it and put it to good use, oh yeah, I mean, easily
I
live good
probably
life.
would
I-
prefer
I-
doing
yeah.
theater.
Yeah, she turns.
So if you got
any given
plastic
moment into
boobs and
celebrity
a big
moment.
ass,
Well, she didn't really have that in the beginning. She
Well,
just
no.
had a sex tape.
Well, she went out of her way to make the sex tape, which made her even bigger than what she was in the first place, which made things even worse for the rest of us.
Which
It was the same
mother
thing for
marketed and
Yeah, and then what? Her father turned into a woman
Kate,
who turned into a criminal, apparently.
killer.
Killer, yeah.
She hit some people.
Yeah, with a car or
speeding.
something like that.
Yeah.
yep.
It's unbelievable, and I'm
Yeah.
assuming tried to use her celebrity status to
Before
try to get out of it.
The whole Kate thing. She was
So before the sex
she
change,
was still Bruce
he
at
did
that.
that.
Point.
He
yeah.
did that.
Once again, another family that doesn't deserve any of our time and attention.
Right, you're right. Actually, let's get off that subject. Let's not start talking about TMZ stuff.
We know how to get rid of them.
Jeez.
The Simpsons gave us a song a while ago. Just don't look.
Just
Just
don't
don't
look. Just don't look.
You
That's-
ignore them and they go
I
away and
use
stop talking
that.
about them.
That is like one of those gems from The Simpsons that I always remember, and it's just one of those things that applies to everyday life. You know, it's like, person's really annoying you, just don't look.
That's my mother's way of doing things. Someone's flipping you off in a car, and they're the ones who screwed up, and I'm like, "Ah," and Mom's like, don't look, don't look. No other car matters. No one else in the world matters. The world doesn't work that way, Mother.
I know, gotta love parents. Yay, parents. No.
So that's who I met on the road this morning.
Did you see this going by? That was my finger. Yeah, my favorite one.
you. Alright, so I'm gonna read some comments, because believe it or not, we're on our 3rd episode, and we have comments!
Ooh.
Bum, bum, bum.
This week, Ashley Govan-Jones says, "You got yourself a subscriber. Good stuff, guys." You know, and I checked it out. She's a singer on YouTube. Did you know that? And, you know, everyone should just go check out her stuff. You might like it. You know?
I agree.
Did you know she was a singer?
I
No.
heard she was a singer. I actually
I
listened
just
to
heard of her
and,
just this moment when I read the comments.
I thought she was a model.
Oh,
That too.
yeah, there you go. Go check out that.
And
go
a student
go
and a
check her out on
musician
YouTube.
And,
and an activist and no.
and the brownie points pour on.
Yes.
Cheap plug.
Did someone leave a vacuum on?
Scotta Forget says, "Intro was good too, and I am looking forward to the next episode." Ah, that's nice, Scott. Thanks a lot. Total complete strangers that we don't know, and they left nice messages, comments on our YouTube where we have our show.
Nice messages. That doesn't sound like the internet.
Something wrong here.
Something's fishy here. Anyways, thanks for the comments, and if somehow you do want your comments read on our show, then all you gotta do is just leave a comment below, because, you know, it doesn't happen unless you actually do it. So, if you want to win the lottery, you gotta play. You gotta buy a ticket. I'm not saying us saying your comments on the show is equivalent to winning the lottery.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, sure.
It is pretty cool, though.
It is
Yeah.
very cool.
You could be
Extremely cool.
famous off of it, but not rich.
Exactly.
Just do it.
Do
In
it.
case you want to say to your friends, "Hey, look, these guys mentioned me on their show. I am cool."
Exactly. Sounds like my mom when she actually seen Ryan Reynolds in the back. And then she calls me up. She goes, Kathy, I'm famous. I'm like, why are you famous? She goes, I saw Ryan Reynolds. So she thought she was famous because she saw a famous person, which is very cute.
So does it make me that I have a picture of me and him with his arm around?
You're like super famous. And rich, apparently.
Famous by association.
You're rich.
Yes.
Oh, Kevin
The
Bacon
Monica
famous.
Lewinsky.
Kevin Bacon famous, yes.
No,
The Monica
we're-
Lewinsky effect.
We're
Famous
not
by
going
association.
Monica Lewinsky.
Monica.
No dress.
I was going to say, I still have that blue dress.
I like cigars.
All right, so I'm gonna turn it over to one of you guys because someone else is providing to the show, right? Someone's got like stuff that we talk about.
Okay, well, Robin mentioned earlier, Colbert took over for
Yes.
The Late Show. Has anybody watched any of the new... Yes, Robin, you watched a few episodes. What did you think?
I've watched all of them so far.
You watched all of them. Are you going to watch tonight?
I'm taping.
Okay, very special guest on tonight that I'm really excited to, is Bernie Sanders is on.
Who's
He's,
Bernie?
He's a Democratic, politician in the States who's running against Hillary, actually.
Okay. You mean so he's
He's on the
Democratic?
Republic.
Okay.
Yes.
Republic.
Oh, okay. Well, we're getting a little too much into the politics here.
Anyhow, I just said he is for the people. He's trying to tax the billionaires, and he's trying to, change the United States.
So, like what Trudeau's kind of trying to do.
He's not Trump. That's
Yeah.
all that matters.
Anyways,
But
let's
I mean,
not
he's also not Hillary, who's bought.
it's
big
American
guys.
politics. I don't know if it's like our politics. Like, obviously, Trump is nutso, but
Oh God, is he ever? And he's in the lead, so
Yeah, he's coming off as like an
Welcome
actual
our new-
human being, which
our-
is
That's
a
kinda
shame.
scary.
Yeah, it's very scary.
That's what happens when celebrities have too much fame.
Well, yeah.
all right. Well,
That's
let's
pop culture now.
Ronald
let's
Reagan.
not get too far into this.
Well, this show is great anyway.
Yeah, Colbert.
I liked it. Well, he got a little religious there for a bit, which I thought was like, why are you getting so deeply religious? You're making me uncomfortable.
Really, Colbert was getting religious. On
He's Roman Catholic.
oh, so he's like really pushing on the show, or what?
Just at one point, he got right deep into it there, and I was like, ooh, that's a little uncomfortable. But otherwise, he hates Donald Trump so very much.
Oh yeah,
That it
I can
is
see that.
freaking hilarious. I enjoy it, but he hasn't really deviated from his other show very much.
No, eh?
It's
So
do you find he no longer plays the same character?
well, he's him, not the character.
Not the character,
So,
which is a spoof on Bill O'Reilly.
yeah,
Right. Yes.
and O'Reilly's nuts
Like-
too. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, good for him though. He's a good talent. He's someone that would be, I think, would be.
I
It's a
really
good
enjoy
spot
him.
for
He's
that.
very funny. He's very.
He's a good
witty,
fit
clever.
for the Late Show. And it's good to see fresh faces too. He's had his show for a while, the Colbert Report. It's also good to see him, like you said, not play a character now. I'm sure he's still playing a character to a degree. But, yeah. I did see a bit. I see where he's, like, eating the Oreo cookies.
Yes.
Where he's, like, trying to say, okay, one more. It's like,
Donald Trump.
yeah, showing, like, Donald Trump clips. It's just, like, that
One
was
more,
just
one more,
great.
yeah.
Plus a funny way to plug Oreo as well. Like,
Which
it's,
Donald Trump wanted to ban.
right,
Because they
yes, that's
closed down.
right, which was the whole joke behind
Yeah.
it.
He's trying to ban Oreo cookies?
Yes, they closed down a plant and sent it to Mexico.
Oh,
Therefore,
crap.
nobody should eat Oreos because they're Nabisco and they're now made in Mexico.
He's like, well, I'm not going to eat Oreos anymore. So, he's like, they're a delicious cookie, but I'm not going to have them anymore. Because of
Wow.
that reason.
I don't know how
Never
he's
heard of
so
that.
ahead in the polls. He's such a moron.
All right.
The other Republican
What is it?
candidates aren't any good. Is the other, they're not
Jeb
personable
Bush.
people. They're not personable
Jeb
people. They actually
Bush.
asked them a question.
Why is Jeb Bush a good...
He's
People want another Bush?
he's smarter than the last two.
They gave him an easy kind of, feeler question for the audience, which was, if Air Force One was taking care of you as president, what's your code name? Kind of a jokey question so you can kind of get to know the people. Everyone took it super serious except Trump, who said humble would be his name, which, is actually pretty funny.
Yeah.
So he's actually coming off as a personable person.
Personal millionaire who's
Which is a little
just
scary.
down there with the people.
He's just enjoying that.
The other ones that can't even...
spotlight.
realize that this is a joke question.
Because they're
you know,
politicians first, and humans maybe, possibly second.
I think it's like third, bloodsuckers second.
I'm just staying out of this conversation
Yeah, well.
because I would get myself in trouble.
Yeah, don't want to get too much into the politics, but I guess we could talk a bit about American politics just because it's not our country. So we can say whatever we want.
Go Trudeau! Woo!
Oh, well, there you go. We got what she's voting in, because we got our election coming soon, but I try to stay away from politics and religion on this show. So, like, Arnold Schwarzenegger took over the Celebrity Apprentice, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So I guess instead of saying like instead of saying you're fired, it's gonna be you're terminated.
Is that
I
actually
will
what
not
he's
be
gonna be
back.
I don't know, but wouldn't it be awesome if he did?
That's really the only thing he should be saying.
Yeah, he shouldn't say you're fired because that's kind of like Donald Trump's line.
Yeah.
So it should be like you're terminated.
What about you won't be back?
You won't be back. I like that one too. Kid Rock, you won't be back.
Or don't come back.
Don't come back.
That's funny.
Good
That
to
would be,
you.
that was technically a second replacement with the Terminator. Then wasn't Schwarzenegger supposed to be in all of the marketing for Hulk Hogan to replace him in and things like the new wrestling video game? And all that?
Yeah, wrestling. You're right because of
Speaking of
Hulk Hogan being kicked out of the WWE Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Smart
What'd he do?
move, jackass.
What?
What did he do?
He said something about his daughter's boyfriend's color.
Mm-hmm. He made some racial slurs that were caught on that sex tape that he was on.
Oh.
Yeah, so he's in a bit of hot water over that, and he's going through trial and all that about that. And WWE basically severed their ties with him, and they took him out of the Wrestling Hall of Fame, their WWE Hall of Fame.
He could run for president.
Yeah.
Huh? Who said he could run for president?
Well, Trump says all this crap about everyone, and he's running
Which
for
is
president.
which is
Why not?
another point. Which this actually ties into Donald Trump because Donald Trump is a celebrity inductee to the WWE Hall of Fame.
Oh. Good God.
Can't believe it.
So what's the big effing deal? Like, I mean, you got Donald Trump in there. Like, what's the big deal of having Hulk Hogan, like, once? He's, like, a tape that you're not even supposed to have to begin with because it's, like, a sex tape that was, like, released.
Well, wasn't there
And-
already a wrestler who became like a politician too? What's his
And
name?
it's not like Ultimate
Jesse
Warrior
Ventura.
or the Iron Sheik hasn't said their racial things. Like, I mean, Ultimate Warrior had a blog about it. He, like, hated on gays all the time. But they don't say anything about him. Instead of, like, they're promoting Ultimate Warrior as opposed to, you know, like,
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan. It's just like how are you gonna like close up like a memory like WrestleMania 3, Hulk Hogan body slamming Andre the Giant? You know what I mean? You can't erase that from wrestling history.
That is
Like
the
at some
biggest-
point they're gonna have to sell it. You know what I mean? They can't.
I think the bigger problem is that we're dealing with a character like Hulk Hogan, who's been around since the beginning, doing something outside of the wrestling ring. You know what I mean? Like what you were describing is all stuff that happened during the show, whereas more often than not, it was stuff that was done, you know, outside of it. Unless you're trying to say Ultimate Warrior used to make some really rude comments.
Yeah, when he wasn't a part of like when he was done with WWF, and he was on the internet. He had his own site, One Warrior Nation. Was that the name of the site? I think, and he was always on there. He's legally changed his name to Warrior too, right? Like that's
yeah.
his name. His name is Warrior. He signs his check as Warrior. He used to sign his checks as Warrior.
Speaking of
But yeah, he used to like bash on gays on there all the time, and he was like, he'd always say crazy kooky stuff. You know what I mean? Like, see, he's kind of like out there. But it's just like, so now it's like they kind of like brought him into the spotlight. They're just like, yeah, like Hulk Hogan's so friggin' terrible. You know what I mean? Like,
I think they jumped to it a little too quick.
well, they did. It was just like immediate. It was just like, yeah, and then it's like, all right.
Before they could even be criticized, they did it. That's. but
They were
it was
trying
too
to,
quick.
yeah, they were trying to cut their ties from it.
They should have looked into it a little farther.
Well, I'll say this much about scenarios like that. I mean, that gives you an idea on how social media can be actually that much more, if not a benefit, a complete disaster waiting to be happening. But
And that's actually something I was thinking about this week too. Is like judgment through social media, as you're saying. That seems to be like a big thing now. Like in some ways, it's a great thing how You know, like, people can kind of voice their opinion in certain situations, like with the dentist, you know, shooting Cecil the Lion, or like, you know, what's another one that just happened recently that there was...
The fat shaming video.
Yes, but it's things like that. I mean, there is
Muslim
things...
clock bomb.
That's,
Not-
that, you know what I mean? Like, and
Just
also
the
The
clock,
View
not a
making the comments with the nurse and people turning on them. In some situations, like, it's definitely a good thing, that almost like a good way that we have people watch and make sure people are doing the right thing. But at the same time, I think sometimes I feel like it's not, like, some people just jump on things, and sometimes they don't really think it through, or, you know what I mean? Like, I think they just jump to conclusions, and, you know, like, the gamers getting upset with Jimmy Kimmel, that was a little too far, about him saying, like, because he didn't understand how people watched people do people watch other people play video games, you know what I mean? So a whole community of gamers who make a living off of playing video games on the internet, you know, sent him a lot of hate mail and stuff. And at least that's unwarranted, you know what I mean?
But our world's become so much smaller, more so ever year by year, especially with the way social media seems to tackle everything like it's their fucking job, you know? Like it's getting to the point now where, you know, you're supposed to be just browsing the web for the sake of sharing information or divulging information. Now it's getting to the point where you're telling people what to do at the other end of the world. And if you're not going to do it on your own, you're going to have the entire globe backing you up, if anything. Hence why I don't really... can never wrap my head around that. I mean, I look at a moment like Hulk Hogan. You know, you got to give the guy credit. The guy's been in the spotlight for how long now, and he still has to deal with it after he's outside of the ring, so to speak. I don't think anyone would want to go through that fame. It kind of goes back to that previous question about how each of us would treat with
eventually the media can turn on you. People turn on you.
Yeah.
You know?
So suddenly the guy who's always the good guy. We're not talking Hollywood Hogan here. That's a different character. But anyway, the thing is, it's like
New World Order.
We're dealing with a guy who's always been in the spotlight, who has to be a human being at some point when he gets back home. Now suddenly is human, and lo and behold, he makes a human mistake, and then it just also happened to be one that actually had to be quite racially based. So yeah, again, something like a simple mistake could easily haunt anyone, but when you're dealing with social media, it could ruin an entire life.
In no way do I condone anything that he said.
Not at all.
Let's get that straight.
Let's
get that straight, 100%.
I just feel kind of funny that it's just become such a big deal in such a quick amount of time, given that he made a comment that, like you had said, other wrestlers in that same profession had done the exact same thing not long ago, but because social media wasn't as strong then as it is now, the
I think it's
came across
mainly because of the court case, and that's why WWE is just trying to get themselves away from this court case. They don't want any bad publicity. You know, they do they wrestle for the troops every year. They have their charities and stuff like that. They just don't want to be involved. They're very PG now, right?
Yeah.
So they don't want anything like that.
From a business standpoint, that I totally...
And that's what it is. That it's not run really by Vince McMahon anymore. It's like run by a bunch of suits. It's a public company now.
Yeah. It's just like the NFL trying to have less criminals in the league and stuff, and harsher penalties and stuff.
Less wife beaters.
Yeah.
Less
But
Pokemon trainers.
they've been doing so bad lately with it.
No more dogfighting. Yeah.
Huzzah!
So what's the scandal now? Like, there's always something with the NFL. Now what's going on?
No, I think it's pretty good right now.
What's the one that just, like, South Park just made fun of something that just happened, didn't they?
Are they still making fun of Deflategate?
Oh yeah, it's probably Deflategate.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I don't know anything.
Tom
about
Brady,
football.
like some of the footballs.
It's Tom Brady, yeah.
Yeah, some of the footballs are underinflated. Or the PSI is not quite high enough.
Oh,
so,
this again. Okay,
Well,
I've
yeah.
heard about this before.
Yeah, it's still kind of...
so
The ruling just kind of came down a few weeks ago, so... You know. And yeah, they determined he did nothing wrong.
Even though he's caught on tape saying to deflate the balls, right? He's saying
So I don't know how much proof there is, but they also like asked for cell phone stuff, and he just destroyed it. So it's like they were trying to punish him for not providing evidence, for like working counterintuitive to an investigation, basically.
Yeah.
But are we sure that's the information that he was trying to destroy? Maybe there was other things on his phone that he didn't want.
Well, he says he's a celebrity, so he
like,
regularly destroys his cell
like,
phones.
It may not have been for that reason.
Maybe he cheated on Giselle.
That exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like that there's a lot of reasons why you wouldn't want somebody to look at their phone, or or maybe somebody, a friend of yours or whatever, had sent a picture that that you wouldn't want,
Dick
or
pic.
they wouldn't
Dick
want,
pic, yeah.
or something, that you wouldn't want anyone else to see.
you
Well,
go ahead and
clearly
erase
you're
it.
going to destroy your phone.
If
Wow,
Hillary
it's for an
could erase all their
investigation.
emails,
You know,
You gotta remember how much money is put on these games, right? So if you're kind of cheating in these games, you're affecting the results of probably millions of dollars of bets.
Yeah.
Right? So people are
Yeah.
getting screwed, and
Fraud.
the other quarterback said he didn't have the same feel. He couldn't get his passes off properly because he's not used to the feel of the football when it's underinflated. It's interesting.
yeah.
At the end of the day, the NFL didn't handle it properly, and Tom Brady got off scot free.
yeah.
For the first time ever, we're talking about sports.
Doesn't happen
And
often.
football.
In football, to top it off, should have been hockey first
Yeah.
on this show.
Season starting up.
Well,
Soon.
technically, wrestling's a sport.
Oh,
right?
wow.
Technically, they have to be
Sports
in great shape.
entertainments.
They're athletic.
They're athletic.
Yes.
Kind of
They get
resent the
hurt.
sports entertainment. I always just professional wrestler would suffice.
Yeah. All right.
We're almost about to wrap up, but I guess we can go over to Boo's game review because he's going to give us a little more in depth about. He's looking at me like, "What? What the fuck are we doing?"
There's a review. What?
There's a review that.
What game are you reviewing?
Well, you still you've played more of Mad Max, the new Mad Max. So what do you think now that you actually gotten a good week into it?
It's still the same slow grind. I have to admit the pace hasn't changed. But I'm going to be brutally honest. I haven't had as much time into it as I thought I could have.
Are you playing anything else right now?
The rare replay, actually, I have to admit, I thought that was a lot of fun.
Okay,
you and I
so
had a
what have you
chance
been
to
playing
play
on that?
Actually, I did a lot of the Perfect Dark for a short little while.
Oh, nice.
So I kind of felt like I needed to give that a little bit of a test. But there's actually quite a few people online playing that, more than I thought.
Really?
Thought possible, yeah.
That's cool. That's
But
something I would
It's
love to
one of
try.
those things where it brought back memories, but then I realized, oh, wait a minute, there's reasons why I don't play games like this anymore, because there's better ones.
Well, it's true. There is better ones, but it's kind of neat that the old school like Perfect Dark is like online.
Yeah, along with the one that's not so good.
The
one
one
we shall not mention. The Dark, Perfect Dark Zero.
Oh, is it really crappy?
Voldemort.
So, yeah. What was that?
She made a Harry Potter comment.
Yeah, I heard Voldemort. I don't know what that is.
Volda's Voldemort or something.
You must not be named.
Sorry.
Blah, blah,
Oh,
blah.
I see. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I never caught on that.
I didn't realize that Perfect Dark Zero was shit.
I just didn't feel like that one actually. And yeah, you ask most who played Perfect Dark Zero, it just didn't do the same magic as I think the original did for. Was it N64? I think it was
Yeah,
around the same
N64.
time
Yeah.
that.
Well,
after
it-
GoldenEye.
Perfect Dark was amazing when it came out on N64, and I loved that game. It was like
Well,
it's
that
kind of
was-
like what made me like actually made me like a first-person shooter that I liked. You know what I mean? I mean, I played Doom and I didn't mind that, and Duke Nukem and all that, but that's still I found that one actually like enjoyable to like have death matches and stuff with because you could have the 4-player hookup, which is amazing
Yeah.
back then.
Well, I think Perfect Dark was one of the few classics that had originally made a statement into the market, as a shooter, like you had said in the first person sense. But then they obviously evolved over the years. I think that's why when they got to Perfect Dark Zero, it was almost supposed to be a way to revitalize that. Same
Yeah, they
franchise,
tried.
and it did nowhere near that.
That's
So-
kind of like almost what this rare replay is about. Is like they're trying to bring back these old franchises that they actually have ownership of, and they haven't really got a chance to do it right.
Yeah, certainly. I don't know. The Banjo-Kazooie games were something I got to really get into soon because I never had a chance to play with them, and I've been hearing a lot of positive and interesting reviews for those. But I just once again I don't know what to think.
And
of
like
it
we
all.
even started up Conker's Bad Fur Day, and like that one's just a great one to go through. Speaking of like people watching games to play, like that's an older game, but that would be a fun one for people to watch because the comedy is like pretty good with
The
it.
comedy is certainly more on the adult side of things. So yeah, and I'd say that's certainly one I would love to put more time into. There's quite a few. I mean, that's 30 games all in one shot that you get in that one title. So for me, I haven't had a chance to explore them all. But yeah, no, that was certainly one that I enjoyed recently. I know one of which I am very much looking forward to soon enough is coming up in October. Because it's going to be, for me anyhow, I feel like there's going to be fewer copies of games coming out between now until end October.
Yeah.
But Assassin's Creed Syndicate will be one I'll be looking forward to review soon enough.
So Assassin's Creed 2015 coming out.
Yeah, this year's version.
This year's version.
So
all right. Well, I'll tell you what.
What part of history are they going into now? Because it's always a different part of history.
They're in
right?
England, so I think they're around the time where Jack the Ripper was
interesting.
involved. And actually, speaking of Jack the Ripper, they announced recently the DLC content apparently that they've.
Speaking of the thing I just mentioned.
Speaking of which, apparently they're introducing some kind of a side mission mode that you can play as Jack the Ripper. So it's kind of interesting that instead of being an assassin with a good twist, they've taken something more dark and sinister and made you the center of attention as the serial killer. I didn't think I'd actually expect them to do that.
I don't know. Do you really want to play as Jack the Ripper?
That's perfect. That's a great question. I don't know. I think it would depend on what they did with it.
Do you want to play like a homicidal murderer? Like,
do we not already play as homicidal murderers in these games in the first place?
In GTA, yeah, we do. But I mean,
well, that brings to that point where that, like in GTA, where you actually had to torture someone. Like I remember you were playing that, and I was having a hard time just watching you have to make the decision on which torture to use at what point. I don't know if I would be able to be Jack the Ripper and make these decisions on to doing these.
It's a
things,
certain mentality
it
that
is.
would be able to do it, and someone who's played games for a long time would probably be able to do it because they can take themselves out of the game and just do what they have to do type thing. But then so do some scary people.
Like knowing the reality, you know what? I don't know if that's something I want to do. Knowing the reality of it and that Jack the Ripper was a real person, I don't think I feel comfortable playing a game playing that character killing people. Like, that's just kind of fucking weird.
No, I don't disagree. I think that's why, for me, it's been an interesting little twist when they announced it. Thinking, you know what,
Boo, for shame, Assassin's Creed.
Nah, I don't care.
Honestly, okay, you know what? If they started actually inventing more games, like, what was it? Well, Postal comes to mind, but I mean, that had more...
Oh, there's definitely worse games, I know. Like, there's like this, I don't know, there's games where you just straight up murder people for no fucking reason.
Most games, the whole point is to kill. Mario,
You're
I'm
right.
jumping on
You're
Goombas.
right.
Even Duck Hunt, I'm shooting the ducks. Like,
Trying to shoot them
True.
out.
yeah, you know, it's, you know, most games.
It's true.
True enough.
All my favorite games.
But it's too close to reality.
Yeah, it's the graphicness of it too. It's how
The
graphic.
photo
If you really
realism
want to
that the
glorify
games
what
now
Jack the
have
Ripper
compared
did,
to
like, you
Mario.
know what I mean? Do you really want to make money off of what Jack the Ripper did? You know,
Well,
you know what
is
I
it
mean?
too
Like,
soon?
it's like, well, maybe not. Maybe not. Like, it's
They're
been
making
long
money off
enough.
of the
Too
Titanic.
soon.
You know what?
Titanic. The Titanic.
That's the porn version, Titanic.
Yeah.
If I might add, though, I have to admit, because of this debate, it's exactly one of the reasons why I enjoy the Assassin's Creed series, because it has this tendency of picking at the conspiracies, or sorry, not the word I'm looking for, sorry, like they confront a lot of topics, I think, that are controversial in a lot of
Yeah,
times.
there's like one was like the French Revolution, I think,
Yeah.
the last one.
And Unity, and I mean the American Revolution in number 3. You know, even back in the Italian Renaissance period, I mean, these guys were doing some pretty brutal things for what they were capable of back then. You know, they went out of their way to kill. So I think as the Assassin Order was ill represented as being the assailants, the guys who would always kill. More realistic than not, it was actually the governments and the conspiracy theorists, the ones that were creating the conspiracies to make the assassins look bad, were the actual murderers. So they made the assassins to be looking like the good guys. I think that's why it's an interesting twist on the story. It's taking historical facts and then trying to blend in a little bit of that romantic concept of who can rightfully kill and who can't. You know, like, but then again, going back to my my thought about how Jack the Ripper, it's like, well, that's like the total opposite of what we expected. So, like what you said, do we want to be Jack?
Yeah. And I want everyone at home to ask themselves that. Do you really want to be Jack the Ripper? Do you want to be like Lipp and be like Jack the Ripper? Or not to single anyone out.
Or good.
But that's
I
all
would
the
play the
time.
game. I'd play
Yeah,
the
you'd
game.
still play it? I'm sure a lot of people would still play it. But
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something that it's something that...
At the end of the day, I know I'm not killing anybody. That's enough for me.
I'd watch someone play it. I just don't know if I could bring
So
myself to
you'd
do
watch
it.
someone kill someone and
Yeah.
not actually
It
kill them. Okay.
sounds like it makes sense. Lip the Rip.
Lipp the Rip. Nice. We're going to end on that note. Lipp the Rip. All right, everyone. I really hope you enjoyed this. If you enjoy listening to us talk and you want to hear more, please subscribe. Leave a comment below. Maybe we will read your comment on the show. So this is Jpar signing out.
Cat.
Lipp.
Boo.
Robin.
And once again, if we got something wrong on the episode, we promise nothing. Good night, everybody.